Lynn. I am a certified financial planner with Balancing Life Issues. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Just a little bit of a layout here. We are going to be using the questions tab. And so if you guys have any questions or if anything you would like to discuss, I will try to keep an eye out on that particular tab. And so use the questions tab. In addition to that, the presentation is going to be recorded today. So for those that were not able to join us, you can go from there. I am not going to be watching the chat button as much. So so it's going to be the questions tab once again. Okay. Little bit about myself. I am, once again, a certified financial planner. I have been in the financial planning industry I'm in my 24th year. And I will tell you, as we're getting into 2023, I am glad to wave goodbye to 2022 because it was a really difficult year. Now, granted, we didn't have some of the COVID concerns that we dealt with back in 2020, but from a financial standpoint, this 2022 had quite a bit in store for us to test our resolve. So you know, going back to last year, and I don't want to hone too much on that. I want to think about going forward, but all of us are still dealing with higher prices, whether they're at the grocery store or we saw gas prices come down a little bit. Now they're back up a little bit. So, our dollars just don't go as far as they used to. We used to hear that all the time, or our parents, oh, things are not what they used to be. Well, we can definitely say that when it comes to our dollars. In addition to that, we're starting to see companies make adjustments for maybe a slower economy going forward. So as we've seen inflation, the prices of goods and services in our country go higher, the way that the Federal Reserve, I guess in a sense, combats that or tries to reduce those effects is to raise interest rates. So, the cost of, borrowing money, cost to, purchase a home, car, etc. Anytime you take on a mortgage, auto loan, those have all gotten more expensive. If you are running a balance on your credit card, that has become more expensive. So, but it's also made it more difficult for companies to borrow and to operate. So what do companies do in a slowing economy? They let go, have layoffs, they let go of employees. And of course, that's a necessary component to lowering inflation, believe it or not, is for labor to get a little bit weaker, unfortunately. Because that definitely brings on hard times for our friends and family that go through that type of life change, because that's really what it is when one has a job that leaves them, is they feel that displacement, and that is a life change. So that's kind of the backdrop of what we're dealing with right now. So here are the objectives that we'll be going through. I'll let you read these at your leisure. And we'll be talking about these in much greater detail. So, so where to start? Panicking doesn't do us any good. The damage has been done. Constantly worrying about what will be is a really difficult game, because I will tell you, I never thought that 2002 was going to be the year that it turned out to be. A couple of days ago, Wall Street Journal had an article talking about the fixed income or the bond markets. So if you were to buy a corporate bond, or if you were to buy some kind of municipal bond, the bond market, due to the fact that interest rates went up so quickly, due to inflation coming from such a low place due to COVID, on record was the worst bond market since 1792. Let me repeat that in case you didn't hear me. 1792. So I don't remember 1792 very well. I'm guessing it was also a difficult year. But for any of you that were during that year, you can let us know. But that was a long, long time ago, right? To bring it into perspective, the country, this country was founded in 1776. So, we're talking centuries ago. So, when you look from a historical standpoint, that's pretty scary. But we can't do anything about it. It happened. It occurred. We can only make better, or we can only move forward with decisions as we see them. So that is probably the first place to start, is to remind everybody that not to make any rash moves. We want to assess the situation, put it into context. So many of us were, doing a congratulatory, trot around our neighborhood or around our house when we looked at our December 2021 statements. Markets broke all-time highs, our accounts were at the highest. We were feeling so good about ourselves. And then, the onslaught, in a sense, started in January 2021. It actually started probably a little bit earlier in October due to in 2021, still from some of the overhang of COVID. Of course, we got that Omicron modulation or variant that came out in December. So the market kind of swooned back in December, and then we picked up to all-time highs at the end of January, end of December, beginning of January. But the truth is that we were really happy with ourselves and everything was working. And now we're all feeling kind of down on our luck because the markets haven't cooperated as much. Now, the silver lining here, though, is that generally speaking, we don't have too many back-to-back down markets. Generally speaking, after difficult times, and this is not guaranteed, things do start to look a little bit better. So that's kind of the silver lining. But I think if we even take a step further than looking at our investment accounts, we should take a look and say, where am I right now? If I'm a younger person, couldn't ask for a better opportunity to start investing money. If I'm an older person, then I have to say, hey, what's my time horizon for needing any of this money? If it's still 5 or 10 years away, or if you're 5 or 10 years away from retirement, or you have other funds that you can draw on if retirement is coming sooner rather than later, then I don't need to worry about now. I need to worry, more in 2 to 3 years. Now, that doesn't mean I should, tuck away my statements. Maybe there are some adjustments I need to make, but I don't need to be so worried right now. So that's part of that situation of objectively looking at where you're at, okay, and assessing your situation. The next step, does my plan still make sense? If I'm in my 20s, putting money away into my employer-sponsored plan, maybe I got a raise, maybe I have a couple extra dollars. Does it make sense to maybe put a couple extra dollars into my accounts? Just recently, the IRS raised the amount that we can contribute into our IRAs, individual retirement accounts, and our 401ks. So for someone younger than 50, it's $6,500, older than 50, $7,500. And a 401k, it's $22,500 for someone younger than 50, and then it's like $30,000 for someone older than 50. So maybe I'm not able to max out my plan, but maybe I can throw in a couple extra percent into my plan. And yes, maybe it doesn't make the biggest difference in the short term, over the next year, but longer term, every additional dollar that I'm able to put into my plan makes a big difference, especially when the market's been so down and out lately. Can you imagine what those dollars, if I was to close my eyes and fast forward, 5 or 10 years, what those dollars will look like? Well, I'm guessing they'll be a lot more than they are today. That's my guess, not guaranteed, but guess. So that's the way we need to start thinking about, is with all the negativity in the news and everything that goes on, we need to, for 2023, we need to start getting back to being positive and saying, hey, there's opportunities out there that I can take advantage of. And yes, they might not come to fruition tomorrow, but I'm planting a seed. I'm planting a seed for longer term. I often look, I'm blessed to live in a house that is amongst trees. And it's interesting as I look at the trees in my yards, I'm often reminding myself that, those trees at one time were little saplings and they grew up to be, these huge trees, but it didn't happen overnight. It takes years. Those old science experiments, when you look at the rings in the trees, if a tree has been cut down, or you go to a museum, you see the rings, and you see all the different situations and climates and seasons that those trees have gone through, and it's amazing. They've lived a lifetime. So, and that's kind of how investments are as well. It takes time for money to compound and grow. So looking at your financial statements is necessary. You might shed a couple tears. I've been hearing that from clients. They just want to cry when they see their financial statements, but it is what it is. And rather than looking at it being like, I'm so underwater, looking at it, oh, thank goodness I'm not close to retirement right now, and I have the opportunity of putting some additional money away right now to make my situation down the road better. Okay. And let me just flip my side here. Okay, so let's talk about now some things that we do have control over. So your annual credit check. So you could go onto this site. Let me see if I can. I don't know if I can dictate on this sucker. Oh, here it is. I found it. So I'm going to annotate. Give me 1 second, guys. Pen. Okay. Pull my pen out here. So right here. Yep. I don't know if it's going to let me do that. Yep. Over I can. Hold on 1 second. Okay, here we go. Okay, maybe I'll stick away from the pens. No, I'm going to stick away from the pens. Okay. So, once a year, you can go on to this annualcreditreport.com. That is about halfway. That's what I was going to highlight. That's about halfway down the screen here. And from that report, you can pull up a credit report from Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Make sure that things look correct, no identity theft, no omissions. You get to decide, as you can see from the last bullet point, whether it makes sense to close inactive accounts. My general rule for inactive accounts is this: if you have a long history of using a certain card, it's better not to close down that account. If it's one of these jobs that is 6 months, 1 year, same as cash, you're never going to use it again, maybe it makes sense to get rid of that. Okay. Reason why we check our annual credit report, well, I just mentioned for errors and omission, but also things are getting much more difficult. If you have to go and buy a new car, take out a mortgage, all things being equal, having better credit will allow you to get the best rates out there. Now, interesting enough, and something you've probably never thought about, there's a lot of bills that we pay that take our credit into account that we don't even realize. So did you know, for example, your property and casualty insurance, they run your credit when you have, that's your home and auto insurance. So if you have not as good of credit, it's possible you're paying more for that insurance. Now, if you're in my line of work and you don't have good credit, it's possible you might not get a job. So in the financial industry, they run our credit. We have to declare whether we've had something repossessed or, file bankruptcy. I got to fill that out almost quarterly, a report like that. So in the field of finance, that's something that we regularly have to deal with. So once again, once a year, a couple times a year, you don't have to do all 3 reports. Maybe you spread them out over every 4 months. Running, looking at your reports and making sure everything looks okay. Okay. Now, the one thing that this report does not do, it does not give you a score. You would have to get a score either by paying for it, or you can get like a pseudo score. So Credit Karma gives you like a pseudo score. FreeCreditScore.com gives you a score. They might not be 100% exact, but they'll give you a rough estimate of where your credit score is. Now, what is FICO? So there's 2 major score providers. There's the FICO score and then the Vantage score. Depending on your vendor it will determine, who uses what. So for example, TransUnion uses the Vantage score, where, Experian uses the FICO score. But they get these scores, and if you have a score in the 700 to 800, 850, a little below that, it's hard to get 850, you have good credit. You start falling below 600, something something went off the tracks a little bit in regards to having lower credit, whether you have too much debt, whether you're, missed some payments. But the point being here is that that's the range in which the scores are determined, is from somewhere from 300 to 850. The vast number of vendors, lenders use the FICO score as opposed to the Vantage score. But I'm seeing more and more where some more are using the Vantage score system. Okay, but for once again, our practical purposes, we want to do everything we can to have a higher score in the 700s or above. So as you can imagine, what factors affect your score are paying your bills on time. The single most important thing you can do is paying your bills on time. Not utilizing as much credit. So if you have a certain credit allowance or a certain credit capacity that you're able to utilize, loading it up, or not having much in the way of, or I guess it's a bit, just using all your credit outstanding will diminish your score. Okay, the length of time that you have used credit is a determining factor, and of course the type of credit that you have. When we talk about secured loans, those would include houses and mortgages. Those are weighed less heavily when it comes to determining your score as opposed to credit scores that are weighed more heavily. And the reason for that, when people get in a bad way, or if they're picking and choosing what bills they're going to pay, usually it's the credit cards they opt out first. They're not going to, generally speaking, not pay a mortgage or an auto loan, because they, in a sense, not that you need those more, but you need those more. Those are essential to staying warm, or commuting back and forth from work. So they'll be more likely to pay on those bills as opposed to the credit card bills, and they know that, and that's why it's factored into the score. Okay, so some other things to note is that there has been some changes within the last 2 years, whereas all third-party collection agency accounts are excluded from FICO 9 score. So those of us that might have a running hospital bill, that would be considered a third-party score. So the good news is that is no longer included in the score. As far as running inquiries on our our credit, it's best to do it all at once. So if we are going to apply for new credit, better to do it within those 30 days as opposed to spreading it out and just get it all done quickly. And also interesting is if you don't use credit, let's say you're on the cash system where you only use cash and you really shy away from using credit, your score will go down. So you need to have activity to keep a robust score. So that's also something to keep in mind, okay? So this is a good time to see, I can't see all the questions, but how much of the discussion around credit and scores applies in Canada? They do. You have a very similar system from the United States. I mean, there's differences, but the same basic concepts, right? Is it okay to pay off credit cards every month? Absolutely. You want to pay them in full every month. You'll keep good credit. I had someone ask me, well, my credit's like 825. I want to be at 850. We're digging in the weeds at that point. Anywhere above 800 is phenomenal. If you paid off your credit card, sooner in the month, maybe it would be a little bit better. But once again, you're grabbing at straws a little bit. Why is it required to use your card? That seems like a setup. If your credit score, just like the word says, is credit. So by using a credit card, by using credit, that's how they can determine it. Yeah, I think all things being equal, if you don't use credit, your score is going to go down, right? It can't stay equal. You're not using credit. So you have to use credit to have a credit score. Kind of makes sense. Otherwise, your credit score goes down. I'm going to answer one other question, then I'm going to jump on to continue on the slides. But I do promise everybody, I will try to end 15 minutes early so I can answer all your questions. Is there a standard time that late credit card, this is a long question. Is there a standard time that late credit card payments fall off your credit report? I thought I was heard 7 years, but that was just here. Yeah. So generally speaking, every 6 months, they'll fall off your score, like a late credit card payment every 6 months, or it'll improve. Let's say you had a repossessed car. That's where it takes 7 months. Something really, unfortunate occurs. That's where 7 years can take place. But every 6 months, it's like a rolling 6 months. Okay. I'll get to some more questions in a couple slides. On this slide, you can see if you're constantly opening up new credit. That's why I said if you're going to do it, it's best to do it all in 1 month, because that does hurt your credit score if you're constantly opening up new credit cards to borrow from. And younger files will affect your credit score more than older ones because of the rolling 6 months. And I think we all know this, that if you rent an apartment, your landlord does run your credit to make sure that you have a history of good making payments. Okay. And then of course, if due to the fact that different vendors use different scores, the Vantage score, the FICO score, they probably have a little bit of different ingredients in their soup. Same thing with Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, probably a little bit different of how they categorize your debts. So your scores could be a little bit different. They're going to generally be about the same, but they could be a little bit different. Younger files just mean, credit. So if you have a credit card that you paid off a long time ago, as opposed to something new, your credit card younger file will be what has gone on over the last 6 months to a year, as opposed to something that took place a couple of years back. Okay. Okay. So I like to point out here that all debt is a 4-letter word. And some debts are worse than others. So, when you do have credit card debt, those are the debts that really can sting when you can't make your payments or in full, or you're just paying the minimum amount required. Because the interest rates are so high, most charge cards, I think that the national average is somewhere around 18%. it is hard when you're running credit card balances at 18% to get ahead of that freight train. Okay, so I like this slide because I'm often confronted with this question. You know, I have some money in savings, but I do have a $5,000 credit card that is charging me, we'll use this example, 22% interest. So $5,000 is the balance. It's cost me $1,100 in interest per year. Okay, that's what 22% is. So $1,100 on $5,000. So when people pay the minimum, maybe the minimum per credit card statement is $30 to maintain, in the sense, the 5,000. You're not, you're in a sense hurting yourself. So I have here just a handy dandy calculator that will tell us what the future value of you know, a 5,000 at 22% does to you. So, you know, if we were to say in 3 years, you know, you haven't paid your balance, that credit card, I don't know if you can see my calculator here. Let me see here if I can. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that's $9,079. So let's say you roughly pay the minimum. You're going to be easily in the high 8,000s. So that 5,000 has accrued roughly around, let's say, $3,000 to $4,000 worth of debt over that time frame. $3,000 to $4,000. So, because it's costing you $1,100 per year just to service that debt at 22% interest. That's why when you do have credit card, it's best to pay them off in full. And if you can't pay it off in full, it's best not to charge it. Now, I get it. Sometimes things come up, you know, hospital bill, you know, the tires on your car, the roof on your house. But, you know, we got to try to do a little bit better job of keeping money in an emergency account in reserves just in case. So in this scenario where this guy has $5,000 saved, I would take at least 4,000 of those dollars to pay off the credit card. Keep 1,000 just in case, and then be aggressive on building my reserves back up and paying off the $1,000 balance that's been left over. That would be my thought. So yeah, credit cards are good tools. They're tools. You know, they allow you to not have to carry money. They allow you to do transactions online. They allow you to receive benefits such as travel miles or cash back by, you know, purchases that you're making anyway. The problem is if you don't pay them off in full, you get into this scenario where at 22% interest, you're doing more harm than good. So the key here, look at your spending. We get into the first golden rule of personal finance. Don't spend more than you make. Basic, really basic stuff, folks. But many of us just, you know, fall into this trap. Okay. So, you know, I was just doing a financial plan for a client yesterday, and they have credit card debt, yet he has money in the bank. And I'm thinking to myself, why do you run credit card debt? It doesn't make sense. Unless you're going to pay it off very quickly, it does not make sense to carry that. So, but better yet, why did you get in credit card debt anyway? You know, it's better to, you know, I guess in a sense, take money out of your reserves, your emergency account, rather than acquire debt. Okay. So someone asked me this question. Is it a good idea for a home equity line of credit or so some kind of HELOC? Let me get there. Hold on one second here. Is it a good idea to qualify for a home equity line of credit while property values are high, even if you don't have it right now? Yeah, you know, you could, I think having a home equity line of credit is just another line of defense just in case, right? much better to have a home utilize a home equity line as opposed to a credit card. Something comes up, just due to the fact that rates are a lot lower on a home equity line than a credit card. The beauty here is also, if you happen to itemize and you use the home equity for a home improvement, you can write off the interest on that debt. That rule changed back in 2018. So there's some stipulation of writing off the interest on a home equity line. It has to follow that line of thinking. Have to itemize, have to use it for a home improvement. But yes, having a home equity line of credit is good while house prices are higher and while the banks are offering them. You know, they can always take it away. So, but if you have it, they're less prone to get rid of those type of options. So part of budgeting is knowing where every dollar, where every penny you spend goes, and having good reason for it. Do not use cash or debit unless you have given yourself reason to spend money. So just because you have money in your account does not give you free will just to, spend it on frivolous items. Find ways to cut your spending. That means reviewing your budget. Going in and saying, hey, do I need all those streaming channels? Is there a better cell phone package, internet package? Can I do a better job grocery store shopping now that, prices have gotten so high? Check yourself when it comes to impulse buys. I was talking to another client yesterday, and she just said, I just like to spend money. I like buying myself things. Who doesn't? But at the end of the day, you got to pay the bill. The man has to be paid. So, or the bill comes due. So, and that's an adult reality we all have to deal with. But, saying no or being able to delay the temptation that we see online over social media or in stores is kind of an adult concept. It's hard saying no, but for many of us, it's necessary, and it's how we're gonna do better for 2023 by gaining control over our financial future, and that starts with your budget. Okay. Some other ideas, consolidating your bills, when it comes to, when you're looking at certain bills that you have, using an app, writing down your bills so you can keep track of where you're at all times. Because that's key to being more fiscally fit, is keeping score. And keeping score requires that exercise, whether you're using technology or you're doing it by hand. It requires that extra step of, keeping track. Okay. Okay. So the next step here, looking at all your deductions. So when was the last time you looked at your pay stub? Come April, do you get a big refund back when you file your taxes? Many times I have clients that tell me, it's Christmas in April because they get such a large refund. If you're getting more than $1,000, chances are that you could, maybe adjust your refund a little bit. Reason being, Uncle Sam does not pay interest on money he withholds. Only if he's late paying your refund, you get interest. Otherwise, it makes sense to adjust that. Are you contributing to your 401k? Hopefully that is the case. Maxing out. Is there a match in your company? All of those are good questions to ask yourself. Hopefully taking advantage of the 401k, hopefully at the very minimum, taking advantage of your company's match. And then if you have the luxury to increase your contributions, doing so will help you in the longer term. Are you getting the most bang from your health and life insurance dollars? I contend our best options, most affordable, most effective options for life insurance, health insurance are through our employer. And it's possible that your employer has other programs that you can take advantage of as well. So that would be the first step, is really utilizing the options, the benefits that your employers offer. Okay. And then, everything should be on the table in regards to reviewing certain costs, whether it's your life insurance, whether it's your, health insurance, taking advantage of your flexible spending account or health savings account. Um, really looking through what your employer has to offer. Going and making sure that all your policies are cost effective. They say every 6 months to 2 years, you should review your property and auto policies, making sure that you're not overinsured, making sure that you're not underinsured. You want it to be just right, and that you're paying a competitive cost for those insurances. As you're, as you can see this next slide, as your automobile ages, you're, you don't need as much coverage. If you've added a new roof, new windows, maybe a security system to your house, maybe there's some savings there. Bundling your home and auto might make sense. And then I'm a big advocate for having an umbrella policy. For a couple $100 per year, you can potentially get a lot more protection just in case. So I think that is a worthwhile expense. Okay, be aware of financial changes. So we've talked about a lot of financial change, or we've observed a lot of financial changes this year due to inflation. So be prepared for it. So when you're driving, try to line up your errands so you're not wasting gas or, wear and tear on your car. Groceries, so many different things we can do with the grocery bill to try to reduce it. Some of those might be finding a grocery store that's, a little less expensive, buying in bulk, buying generic brands possibly. I'm a vegetarian, so as you would imagine, I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables and whole grains. Many a times, those vegetables can be quite costly. So, I try to buy things that are seasonal, or better yet, buy frozen fruit or frozen vegetables, because they last a lot longer and, the costs, generally speaking, are lower. As far as clothing, try to find clothing that you don't have a lot of, dry cleaning on, maybe iron free. That goes out a lot. That goes a long way. Eating out less. It's expensive to eat out. Many times it's not as good for our health as well. But, generally speaking, cooking, because you can maybe cook in greater quantities, which will last us, and we can have leftovers, etc. We'll be healthier for our budget. Now, one thing I did not say is never to eat out. I would never say that, but you definitely need to find, moderation. Reading good articles online, CNBC, Investopedia, Wall Street Journal, Kiplinger's. These are all great, producers of material that give you ideas. Another place that you can go that many of us do not utilize is the local library, where some of these periodicals or books on financial planning can give us some good ideas. Make an effort to keep yourself protected. Now that can go a lot of different ways. Once again, that's your home and auto. That could be your life insurance. That could be your medical reimbursement plan. Reviewing those policies, once again, is very, very good. And then if something was to occur to yourself or your family and you become unemployed, know what your benefits are for that situation. Okay, so we got into the new year. We're going to take a look at our budget. We're going to take a look at our our investment accounts. The key here, though, is are you on the right track? Are you on the right path to get to your goals? Do you even know what your goals are? So the key here is, sit down, think about some of the bigger goals that we have, or shorter goals for that matter, and what is it going to take to accomplish those goals? Well, I would like to retire one day. I'm going to put so much money into my retirement accounts, and cross my fingers that it works out. I would like to think that it takes a little bit more effort than crossing fingers. You want to make sure that you have a plan to know or to help us determine whether we're on the right path and what's the probability of reaching those goals. They always say horseshoes and hand grenades are only good when you're playing those games, not when it comes to something such as important as retirement or some of those other goals, educating a child. You want to make sure that you're pretty spot on. So that's where, thinking about those goals and what it's going to take, the money that's going to take to accomplish those goals and what methods you're going to, take on to accomplish those goals. That's part of that process. Okay. Some other things here, and this should be on the other side, such as become a do-it-yourself or lifelong learner. It's amazing what you can find on YouTube and on the internet. And I think I talked about most of these other
partners there in LaGrange. So Michael, have been in banking for about 20 years, and I did a pretty in-depth presentation down there in LaGrange for those folks, and I was enjoying the presentation that you had up there. I was kind of making some notes and maybe have some other things to chime in on in that regard. So, but today, first of all, we will start with just a little bit about some updates and some new programs that we have. Michael, if you'll advance us to the next slide, please. Okay, great. So we're going to talk about a new shared branching benefit. Some of you who may have been with credit unions or possibly have been with Georgia United previously may be familiar with shared branching. So we've added, exciting news, we've added over 5,000 branches in the state that you guys can go to. And I'm sorry, in the country that you guys can go to for service. And we also have a new location to serve state agencies in Atlanta. We have some ATM Plus machines that we're going to talk about at Marietta Street, and a very exciting new partner for auto buying. In addition to our great auto loans, that can be challenging at times to find a vehicle, and it's a little bit better as far as inventory than it used to be, but some folks are still struggling, and I have a new service that you're eligible for free. And then, just as we were talking about a moment ago, we'll have some debt busters for you. So I think you're going to really enjoy some of the stuff that I have here to talk about with you based on what the last guy was speaking about. There may be that you will find some resolution and some solutions with your credit union. Okay, so great new locations. We have, as I mentioned, 5,000 new locations with shared branching. So you see this logo here, the little triangle with co-op shared branching. So credit unions have a program where we rely on each other and we work together. We're much more friendly than banks are in competing with each other. So we work together sometimes on projects. And one of the things that credit unions can offer is called the co-op shared branching program. So you may see, for example, a Delta Community location or an Associated Credit Union that will have this co-op logo out there on their signage. And if that is the case and they offer it at that location, you may go in armed with your Georgia United member number. So you will need to have your member number or your checking account number perhaps when you go in there, but you can do a deposit, you can do a withdrawal, or you may make a loan payment. Let's say that you get a new car loan from Georgia United and you're traveling like me on the road in Georgia and you're like, shoot, I really want to get this loan payment out of the way today. And you see a co-op location. you can go in there and do the service. Now, some of them may charge a small fee. I think it's $2 or $3, depending on what, and I think that's just for the loan payments, but it is a huge convenience for you. And in addition to the 5,000 shared branching locations, we have 14 branches across mainly metro Atlanta and north of I-20 in Georgia. And we have also opened up access to you for over 100,000. That is right, 100,000 surcharge-free ATMs across the globe. So the easiest way to access that for folks who may want to join, or perhaps for existing members, is to look at our locator right on our website. So you would go to gucu.org for Georgia United Credit Union.org and look at locations, okay? And that will help you there. Now, we also have a new auto buying service, and there is no fee for this, folks. So I have a partner and friend who's a key contact for me over at the Georgia Department of Corrections. And she was looking for a vehicle and she was struggling. She had a certain thing in mind that she wanted, and she'd found a deal, but she was asking me what I thought about it. And I said, you know what, Betsy, I'm not sure about that, but I have someone for you. So I referred her over to this partner of ours, this brand new service of ours, and he was able to take a look at that contract. And guess what? It was not a good deal. There were some hidden catches in that contract and things that she wasn't aware of. And so then, she didn't go through with that purchase, but he was able to help her find a great vehicle. She was very pleased with the service. So let's just start by talking about if you already know what you're looking for, you can just call them, or you can go onto their website at CU Auto Search and just get connected with a representative. There'll be a form that you'll fill out, just basic information, and a representative will be assigned. Or you can use that cuautosearch.com and look online at the inventory. If you're not sure what you want, you kind of want to just get some ideas of things that are offered and price ranges for vehicles. They have over 100,000 vehicles to choose from there. And we have, with our car loans, very low lending rates. I do believe today we're right at about 5.99% on vehicles that are 2022 and over. But please do fact check me. You can always look to see our current rates at gucu.org/rates, okay? And you will see there that they have some amazing car loan rates. So you might want to take a look at that. Even if you want to keep your car and just refinance it with us, you can do that. We have no prepayment penalties and no origination fees or anything like that. And I think you'll see that we might be able to save you some money there. So we have some pretty quick processing times on that as well. So you can apply right online, and you can do that through gucu.org/join, and go ahead and apply. If you want to do any type of loan, I do suggest you apply for the loan first, and then the deposit products, they will take care of for you on the back end. So that might be just a little bit quicker. All right, you can go ahead to the next slide now, Michael. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the managing your money and some of the tools that Georgia United has to offer for you guys. And our Visa card, the Visa Platinum, there you see right there on the screen, I've highlighted the 1.99 introductory rate on purchases and balance transfers for 12 months. So let's say that you are one of those folks. And by the way, do not be ashamed. This economy has been really tricky to navigate, and we're navigating through some waters with a whole lot of sharks in there. And it's been kind of difficult to navigate through it all. So if you've gotten yourself into some debt, and by the way, we're seeing in the banking industry that the debt is going up and up and up, and the savings is going down, down, down. So it's like 13 trillion, I think, right now. So it's at a record all-time high in credit card debt. And I was thinking about that and what we could do to help the folks at GDOT with that. Well, this is great right here. What you can do is you go online and apply on our website for the credit card. Now, once you get that card opened up, you then, let's say you have a $20,000 limit, you can then give us a call on our member care center. And the member care center can be reached at 770-476-6400. Okay, so then you can start there. And once you call them, you can tell them, hey, I have my statement here for my Wells Fargo, my Bank of America, all of these things that I want to pay off. And they will take down those account numbers and the balances. And what has happened, they will use that 20,000 up to 20,000 if that's what you're approved for, and they will pay off all of that other debt. All right. And that is called a balance transfer. So then what will happen is your Wells and your Bank of America, let's pretend you had enough with the 20,000 to pay all that off. Now, all of those are going to go to a zero balance. All that will show paid off in a very short order of time. And then you will see those balances appear underneath your Georgia United account. Now, if you're paying the average credit card rate right now, that, by the way, is between 26 and 28%. Very high rate. Okay. So on that balance, you'll get only 2%. Okay. So that will help you to pay it off much more quickly. All right. And then after that 12 months in time, what will happen is your rate will go to the regular variable rate, whatever that is at the time. So for me personally, my rate is about 14% right now with Georgia United. So of course, everything is tiered, folks, on your credit score, and higher credit scores always get better rates on things. But you should be eligible if you qualify for this 1.99. You want to take advantage of that balance transfer offer and knock out that debt. Now, I have a little bit more of Maria's secret sauce for you. And this is what I do. There was a lot of talk from the last gentleman about budgeting your money and all those kinds of things. So Monica did ask me, to elaborate a little bit more on things we can do for debt and saving you money. So what I do is on payday, I get paid twice a month. So on payday, my money goes everywhere that it should. I have everything set up automatically. So all of my bill pay that is a set amount, I go ahead and have that go automatically. There are some things that will be set to pay, maybe the minimum payment, for example. Okay. And then I don't forget to pay myself. So my money goes into a separate savings account for myself, and I always max the match on my 401k ever what my employer is offering me. So here at Georgia United, let's say I get 5%. I'm going to make sure that I'm putting 5% in, because that is double your money, folks. So you don't want to miss out on that, right? So every 2 weeks, as I said, all this happens automatically without me having an opportunity to forget about anything while I'm out driving around this great state of Georgia, because if there's anything that can be forgotten, I just might forget about it. So that way I don't ding my credit by missing a payment, and everything gets paid as it should. Now, I will have identified, if I'm carrying any debt, I will have something that I am looking to terminate. So let's say that I have paid off all my debt with this new Visa card at Georgia United, and now I'm sitting at an $18,000 balance with that card, and I want to pay that off. So what I'll do then, at the end of that pay period, if I have $100 left or $150 left, let's say, then I will take that and make an additional principal only payment toward that debt. And that is phenomenal. That is a great way. By paying it twice a month, you're really speeding things along. But then in addition to that, by making that additional payment toward the principal, that is wonderful. And staying on the topic of getting out of debt and consolidating debt, I do want to point out that if your credit score isn't where you want it to be, okay, and you're really looking to improve your credit score, and that is a big goal for you, it might make more sense for you to do a personal loan, okay, versus this Visa offer. And I'm going to explain to you why. The number one way to impact your credit score is paying your bills on time in a positive way. Pay your bills on time every time. The second biggest piece of the pie in disseminating what builds your credit score is your percent of available credit. Okay, so what does that mean? If you have that $20,000 card, and let's say that is the only credit card that you have, and you have put about 10,000 on that, all right, your credit is now at about a 50% ratio. Okay, that your percent of available debt or percent of available credit, excuse me, is at 50%. That will really hurt your credit score. So this particular calculation is only on revolving debt. Revolving debt means credit card debt. Okay, so the powers that be, they're looking and making up these credit scores. If they see you get over about 25%, or if they see you get over 30%, especially, it begins to ding your credit score. So guess what? Instead of doing the Visa offer, perhaps you elect to do one of the personal loans from Georgia United Credit Union instead. And by taking out the personal loan, what you've now done is you're paying everything off. You're paying off all those credit cards. So your percent of available credit is at 100% because you've got it all available. And that can really help your credit score more quickly than just about anything that you could do. Of course, next you're going to want to review your credit reports and all of that and try to make sure to get that debt down. So those are my debt terminator tips for today. And Michael, if you can go on to the next slide. Okay, so you can apply, as I mentioned, at gucu.org/join for most of our products. Or for that particular Visa card, you can click right there on the screen. For that, you can stop by a branch. Your branch, by the way, if you work at Twin Towers, has relocated over to a beautiful new facility right by Centennial Park. I think it's called the Centennial Tower. It's at 101 Marietta Street. And we also have a brand new branch that has opened up in Chamblee on Peachtree Boulevard. Or you can give us a call at Member Care Center. And since I'm out and about so much at this springtime of the year, you can call 770-476-6400 for our member care consultants. And they can answer just about any questions that you can have. Or you can reach me, I'll put it here in the chat, at maria.pifer@gucu.org. Okay, great. All right, so that concludes my presentation.
Today's webinar of getting outside your comfort zone and trying new things. I'm the Executive Director of Employee Resource Systems in Chicago, which is part of All One Health's family of EAPs. And before we get started, I'd just like to go over a few tips so you know how to participate in today's event. And so everybody will be participating in listen only mode. It just kind of prevents those awkward doorbells going off in the background and stuff like that. However, you can submit text questions to today's presenter, that's Kirsten there, by typing your questions into the questions pane of the control panel. You can send your questions in at any time during the presentation, and we'll collect them at the end and address them during the Q&A session. You should know this webinar is being recorded, and a recording will be made available afterwards. So let me move on with the introductions. Kirsten Gelfand is our presenter today, and she's an enthusiastic health coach, teacher, leader of well-being, and a focus on fitness, physical health, and behavior change. She has a great motto. I love this. It says, her motto is, say yes to adventure and fun. She's a certified group fitness instructor and personal trainer, and studied psychology and exercise science at Central Michigan University. She brings her passion to helping people to every presentation, session, and program design. So she's going to leave you feeling empowered and inspired to take action from wherever you currently are to in the direction in which you want to go. So I will just let you take it away, Kirsten.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrea. It is so great to be here with everyone. And like Andrea said, go ahead and open your questions box if you have questions along the way. We have a cool, I made you a handout that's worksheet. So if you want to download that, you can definitely do that on your pane. And after the fact, like this time together, I want to not only leave you feeling better immediately, but also help you as you are, giving you tools and progression in the areas you want to get outside your comfort zone, whether that be for your health or improving your performance at work or in your relationships, whatever it might be. So thank you for coming live. This is awesome. And let's get started. So right there, let's begin by just looking at that image. Put in the question box if that gives you a feeling, an emotion, to see that white ladder kind of sticking out different than the other ones. What kind of emotion does that give you? And if you want to put your thoughts or jot them down, it's good to be an active participant. You're going to consume more and be able to apply more. Nervous. Yeah, me too. Hope. I like that. So the physiology between being nervous and excited are very similar. So sometimes I use this hack if I'm feeling nervous, same, like, right? But then as soon as you kind of put yourself out there and own who you are, then what do you feel? Motivated, keep climbing, courageous, different, out of place. Yes, all of these things. Okay, good. I love seeing your answers. Okay, so this is what we're going to be going over together. And I would love to spend the whole day with you, but we only have a short amount of time. So we are going to be looking at how this could be powerful for you. And we're talking about your life, so of course the stakes are high, right? We get this one life. The benefits of stepping outside your comfort zone and trying new things, and discussion and application for you. So I want you to commit, put a Y in the question box if you are committed to taking and applying at least one thing today. One thing, put a Y in that box. Yes, good. Yay, I love it. Have you ever been to a conference? I've definitely done this, where you have like so many things coming at you, and then you're just overwhelmed and you don't take anything with you. The worksheet and the way I'm presenting this is going to leave us applying something to move forward. Yes. Okay. We're going to start with a mindset exercise. All right. So I want to invite you to go all in on this. And if your coworkers are wondering what you're doing, just give them FOMO and say this was amazing and you should try it. So we are going to do a little comfort zone mindset exercise, and I want you to roll your shoulders back and down a few times, 3 times. Exhale long, close your eyes with me. We're going to take a deep belly breath to kind of center ourselves. So imagine an inner tube around your waist. With your eyes closed, you can often see better. I want you to inhale, expand through your rib cage, through that entire inner tube around your rib cage and lungs and hips. Fill it up with air. Now hold it and exhale out. I want you to keep on focusing on the exhale. You can keep on belly breathing. That helps most of us kind of turn down our nervous system and allow us to really drop in. And this mindset exercise, I want you to imagine like a video. I want you to think about a time, it can be any time in your life. Whatever comes to mind, it came to mind for a reason. So go with that. And I want you to think about a time that you were glad you stepped out of your comfort zone. You might have felt those emotions that we all wrote in the comments. You know, scared, nervous, courageous, whatever it is right before, but you were glad you stepped out of your comfort zone. You were glad you raised your hand, maybe. You were glad you tried something new. Breathe that in, inhale. Notice what you're wearing. Notice the moments. Kind of notice what was scary, like about that moment, and then how you felt when you stepped into it and you were glad you did. Okay, I want you to pay extra attention right now to the emotion, the feeling that you are glad you did it. What did it make you feel? What were some positive outcomes for you? Awesome. Go ahead, blink your eyes open. Okay, so I see some questions in the question box. Just stay in the question box. You can submit your comments right now as I'm seeing them pop up right now. Awesome. And then at the end, we can go over your questions too. So this is just like interaction time here. All right, so Early, could you launch our first survey? So I want to hear, I wish I could interview several of you and hear what you're saying. Why can't I see? I see nothing now.
We can see the question. Question 1 says, tell me about a time you were glad you stepped out of your comfort zone.
Okay. So I'm going to put the polls. And can you still see me?
No, just the question.
Oh, just the poll. Perfect.
Yeah, the poll. So it looks like
okay.
The career option is surging ahead.
Okay, good. If there's any way to share that, just let me know. All right. Do we have a result?
Yes, it looks like 42% had career,
okay.
24% relationship, 24% tie actually with the physical or health challenge, and then 10% other. I see a couple of comments. Somebody was commenting about being proud the first time they rode a jet ski. That sounds awesome.
Yes, I love it. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and close that poll. Okay, good. I can see what's going on again. All right. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. I appreciate that. So, so I asked around and I asked lots of people, and I just want to share a couple with you and apply it maybe to what you thought of. And the whole purpose of this is it's important to notice the benefits for you personally, because it just hits different, right? When you notice the benefits of stepping outside your comfort zone and going for it. So a high-level executive said, and I'll skip right to like the moment of like scary feeling of stepping outside your comfort zone. Although he had all sorts of career things that he could have said, he immediately went back to a childhood memory where he felt like he had no business trying out for a team, a baseball team to be exact. They had asked him to try out. And have you ever had that feeling where you're like stepping into something and you're like, I am not? So he remembers feeling like he didn't have the right equipment, like he didn't have cleats. He had like a hand-me-down glove. And that moment of saying, yep, I will try out. And he was just so thankful that he did and that those coaches asked him to try out. But, you know, he had this, I said, what was the scariest part? And he said, stepping onto that field and feeling like, oh my goodness, I don't even have cleats. And here I am. Good news is, made the team. And he was so glad that even if he didn't make the team, that feeling of being proud. And I could go through all of our stories. I could go through this other story of, once again, it was she got through her schooling with cosmetology under 21, and she was entering into this field. And she said that she was going to a conference, and she said she walked into the nicest hotel she had ever been in, and she didn't want others to know how young she was, because she thought, oh my goodness, does that mean something? Like, does that make me not as good? And you know, she walked into the fanciest hotel she's ever been in, and she said she didn't even know how this worked. They like put a hold on her credit card, like basically every dollar she had to her name. And she thought, oh my goodness, am I even, if they're freezing up all my bank account, am I even going to be able to, you know, like go to dinner with these people? And then she talked about the moment when they were going around the table ordering drinks. And she's like, I don't even, you know, I don't want them to know I'm under 21. I'm not ordering a drink, and I'm not, of course, like, so that feeling. And I bet you many of us, and we could keep going, but us as humans, look at that picture again. It's a different version of the same thing. That feeling of, you know, in order to be true to yourself, you're going to stand out. You're not going to feel like you belong, or that feeling of belonging. And so often we as humans, you're not alone in this. I'm not alone in this. We tend to want to go to belonging. When we have the choice between authenticity, being true to who we are, and belonging, we go to belonging. And we know that when we choose authenticity, even if it feels scary, that is what we're going to have the best outcomes for, and feel the best in our health and our purpose in life. Yes, I love this. Polly says, stepping out of your comfort zone does not always have a positive result. And that is so true, right? And so sometimes that makes it even more challenging. Okay, So I would love if you have a scrap piece of paper around or a journal, we can do this journaling prompt. I'm not going to sit here and write, so I find it quicker just to talk you through it. So let's go ahead and talk you through it. And I bet you'll get some hits without even writing it down. If you're more of a, if you prefer to write it down, you absolutely can. All right, so here we go. Roll your shoulders back and down. Thanks for playing along, by the way. Be active in this whole process. So close your eyes. We need to inhale, deep breath through your belly. Keep your chest settled. Inhale. Hold it and exhale. Inhale. So this is something you can use as journaling prompt, but I just want you to picture what comes to mind right now for you. And it's this. Fast forward down the road. And your 95 version of you is writing your now version of you a letter. So Kirsten at 95 is writing me a letter right now. And your 95 version of you is writing you a letter. Breathe that in. See his or her face. See their face. Now, what does the 95-year-old version of yourself want to tell you? What do they want to encourage you on? What kind of wisdom does your 95-year-old version of you want to share with you? We don't want to get to the end of our life and we're like, wow, I did not live that life that was authentic to me. I chose the easy route to stay in my comfort zone, stay in this bubble, this perceived bubble of comfort. So drop your shoulders down, breathe it in, exhale long, blink your eyes open. What did your 95-year-old version of you say? Go ahead and put in the comments if you feel brave to share.
I just put, I don't know if I put this in correctly, but I said just be kinder to yourself.
Yes. Be kinder to yourself. Yes. Very wise. Don't sweat the small stuff. Stop worrying so much. Take more risks. Step out of your comfort zone more often. Do not wait. They said to take chances. I say do not wait. Put yourself first more. Yes. If you're not healthy, you're not going to be able to help anyone else. Yes, these are so good. I love this. Your 95-year-old version of yourself is pretty cool. Make sure we're thinking about that. We're thinking about what that wisdom is. Yes. Don't worry about what other people think. My 95-year-old, this is gonna make me tear up. Will be proud. Oh, I love that so much. Don't compare. Give yourself credit. Oh my goodness, these are all amazing. Thank you. Okay, so there was a palliative nurse. So a nurse helping people in their last days. Her name is Bronnie Ware, and she wrote a book from all the people that she was talking to in their final days of their life. And she wrote a book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And I don't say this to bum you out. I say this because the same thing that your 95-year-old version of yourself was saying to you is like, let's live our life now in pursuit of what that wiser version of us would want. So there's 5 regrets that Bronnie Ware put together. And could you early go ahead and do the poll? I want you to guess, or maybe you know, maybe you read the book, which one was the most common regret of the dying. Those are all 5, the top 5 regrets according to her research and her conversations and all the stories she heard. Write that book and look at it. Okay. Maybe I'm the only one that can see the comments. Maybe that's the way we do it. That's fine. Either way, I'm trying to highlight some.
I can see them as well, so if it'd be useful, I can certainly read them out. I wasn't sure if how you wanted to do that. But in terms of the poll, it looks like surging ahead by a long shot. 51% so far say, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself.
Woohoo! You guys are so smart. Why am I surprised by that? That is the #1 regret. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life of others expected of me. It didn't let me put that last line. But go ahead and read that to yourself. Meditate on that for a second. You can go ahead to stop the poll so I can share again. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. So I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself. All right. So these are all things that I think inform us and motivate us to go ahead and put yourself out there, to be authentic to who we're meant to be. Okay, so I want to be able to spend some time going through the benefits of stepping outside your comfort zone. So my master's in it, oh dear. Okay, there we are. My master's in exercise science. So this is the easy one for me to like think about right away, but there's lots of different ways to think about this. And so if you have the ability to stand up, you can stand up or you can just seated. I'm going to give you an example of your cardio health. Okay, so physical health, I have a few different things I'm going to explain a little bit. I'm not going to get too crazy into the kinesiology of it, but or the physiology of it. But imagine your cardio level, so your VO2, being a circle around you, or just think of like your capacity. That's your VO2. So in order to improve cardio health, you need to go up and get close to that VO2. And then, well, my favorite way to train it would be get close to that VO2 and then come back. So that's interval training. Get close to that VO2 and come back. So when you think of like your VO2, when you're starting to work really hard from a cardio perspective, what happens? Your heart rate goes up. Everything gets like, you get sweaty, you get hot, you're breathing hard. Your exertion goes up. Your rate of perceived exertion goes up. And so if you think of what's comfortable, like let's just think of sitting in your bed, relaxing. Let's call that your like resting heart rate, your little baby comfort zone. And then your VO2 max is your cardio max, okay? And then you bring that in a circle, a layer, and that is what you want, you're coming out of your comfort zone to improve. Okay, so basically all this to say, we need to get outside of our comfort zone, what feels comfortable. One of the ways as trainers, sometimes we monitor that is even just like how well you can talk without taking a deep breath. So if I can go on and on and on without taking a deep breath, I am probably not outside my comfort zone. So for cardio health improvements, we do need to work on improving. You can increase your range of how much you're capable of. Okay, so if I would do a sprint with an Olympic, let's say a 500 or a 400 sprinter, okay? And so if I do a sprint next to that Olympian, they're gonna beat me, right? But then if you measure my heart rate, maybe they could be similar, because they were performing more, but I was pushing myself out of my comfort zone. So improving cardio health. Sweet. So strength improvements, a physical load. My grandma used to do bicep curls and do weights with like a 1 pound weight. I am not joking you, a 1 pound weight. Will that improve her physical health? Someone's raising their hand. I don't know if Early or anyone can help me. But a 1 pound weight is not going to do a huge improvement, right? So flexibility, range of motion, same thing. Mental health, I'm looking at the time. Oh my goodness, guys, time is flying by. Mental health, proving to yourself that you can step up to a challenge and increases your capacity and confidence. That feeling of a sense of accomplishment and the gift of flow state. So flow state is, something we could do a whole presentation on, but it's that feeling of being in the zone, being in the flow is something that's challenging, but feels like great work, right? Okay, so there's tons and tons of benefits. I could go on, but I want us to just think about whatever our comfort zone is, drawing a line around our comfort zone. In this, we're in the comfort zone. In order to improve anything, we need to step outside the comfort zone. We shouldn't blow all the way through. Shouldn't, like, if you're used to, if you're just learning a squat, I'm not going to put 300 pounds on your shoulders to blow through your comfort zone. I want you to just come up against your comfort zone, and that's how it's going to get bigger and bigger. Yerkes-Dodson law. So you can go ahead and look this up later because we're short on time, but in general, they found that it was back done in 1908, and so they took mice and they basically gave them like little shocks. They found that optimal challenge for growth has to do with your arousal there's a bell curve for your arousal. So your arousal needs to be initiated, but it can't be so much past your comfort zone that your body's basically freaking out. And so the whole brain demo of your comfort zone is basically that, like drawing a circle around your body and knowing that I need to step out of that comfort zone and then come back to safety to train my systems, whatever the area of growth is. Okay, let's go ahead and run the poll. What is an immediate benefit you may feel when you step outside of your comfort zone? What is the one that you resonate with? And then as we're doing this, you can think of what trying something new or stepping out of your comfort zone might be.
Okay, well, this is kind of a no-brainer on this one. It looks like 68% are voting for all of the above.
Oh, good. Let's go. Perfect. Okay, sweet. I love that you guys are like, yes, let's go. Let's do it. Those are all benefits. All of the above. Yes. Okay, sweet. We are almost there. So what will be your why for trying new things? What will be your why? And like I said before, there's this worksheet that you can fill out so you can apply this. And look at this person with the comfort zone circle around their feet. So my example before is like, come up outside your comfort zone and then come back. Okay, so you can write down later your why for trying new things, or you can put it in the comment box. Ideas for practicing. I know we're at time. So physical challenging, using the FIT principle. So frequency, intensity, type of exercise, and time you exercise. Putting yourself out there. Challenges like dance when you can dance. Jump in the water, jump in a project. Raise your hand, go first. Volunteer at your organization or volunteer at an organization in your community. New things to try, maybe a musical instrument, new route to work, new sport, new foods and recipes, new hobby, meditation, or new journal prompts. I often do 23 and 23. So I have 23 things that I want. Some are just tiny things and some are more like, some are big things, or 40 before 40 lists. Those are all examples of ways you can practice trying new things. All right, it's commitment time, peeps. So there's 2 more polls, and that's if you want to commit. So go ahead and launch those last 2 polls. So are people committing?
We have some, yeah, we do have some, we have some brave people saying yes. 38% in the area of physical challenge, 33% in putting yourself out there, 9% volunteering, and 20% for I don't want to commit, but I'm open to the possibility.
Do you like how I worded that? You can go right into that last one because it's just about new things. And if you have any commitments around that, and we can finish up. Thank you so much. You're doing an awesome job. I thought I would be able to help you more with the polls, but thank you.
All right. So in terms of committing to trying something new in the next 30 days, we have 45% saying yes, new food and recipes, 40%, 31% to other, 25% to new sport or hobby, 4% for driving a new route, and 2% for learning to play a musical instrument. So yay on all of you guys.
Wow, that is so impressive. I love it. So good. Cool. So I want to remind you once again to use this worksheet. Take something from today that you want to apply and practice. Go ahead and put questions in the question box right as we finish. If you have any questions for me, up here on the screen, there's some prompts to kind of get your creative juices flowing for what might be authentic to you. Because we don't want to just step outside our comfort zone just for the sake of doing it. Sometimes there's some benefit to that. Like, you know, driving the new route has a lot to do with your brain neural pathways and being present and active in what you are. But sometimes we want it to be high level too. We want it to be a why. We want it to be authentic to us, something we feel called to do. So that's why I kind of put those prompts up, and they help me when I feel stuck at all, or if I want to feel inspired to do something new or to feel alive in that way. I'm sorry. Okay.
Any questions, folks? We've got a few coming in here. Okay, so got any tips for finding a soulmate? I know this is work related, but it's hard to approach strangers for love.
So, you know, the question of like putting yourself out there in relationships, here's the reality, is one of the through lines for people being glad they put themselves out there would be authenticity and belonging. We talked about that, right? But the other through line that I heard a lot of, and I know myself as well, is that vulnerability. So anytime you put yourself out there in a romantic situation of like getting to know new people, it's a risk, right? But if you talk to people that are happily in romantic relationships, I bet a lot of people would say it's worth the risk. And so I'm not a relationship guru by any means, but I would say that my two thoughts would be like, you know, no one gets out of this without some scrapes or bruises or scars, right? But it's worth the risk. So remember that when you're feeling, oh, is it worth putting myself out there? It is. And then when you find someone that goes against your boundaries or is not healthy for you, then you just bring it right back in the middle of that circle. And then when you're ready, go again. So that's my thoughts from a very novice exercise science girl.
Yeah, just staying open to the possibilities and see where that takes you. I'm getting a lot of comments from people just thanking you for the training. Somebody was motivated to learn French or Spanish, so that's that's a good one.
Impressive.
And someone mentioned about writing down your non-negotiables and then just being open to the rest. So we got some good suggestions.
I love that. Like, be open to the adventure. When I like control a situation too much, then some of the magic is not allowed to happen because I'm like, first we do this, then we do that, right? Yay! This is so good. Kayaking for the first time. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So just, it seems like people are really responding greatly to the energy and the enthusiasm that you've been sharing with us, Kirsten. And so I so appreciate all that you've put forth in this presentation. If no one else has any questions, I think we can just go ahead and wrap it up. And just to thank everyone for participating and attending today. Loved the polls. Those were a lot of fun. And again, this was about getting outside your comfort zone, trying new things. So if anyone has questions, just feel welcome to contact the webinar team, emailing them via the notifications that you'd received when you signed up for today. And just know that we will be posting the presentation. So if you've not accessed this before, just know that you can basically find recorded webinars that have taken place in the past by going to the website allonehealth.com. And then you can click on resources and you'll see webinars is one of the options underneath resources. So that will be available in a couple of days. And attendees will receive a certificate of attendance by email within 48 hours. So on behalf of All One Health and lovely Kirsten here doing such a great job, just thank you for joining us, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Andrea. Thanks everyone for being here. Awesome job.
Thanks. Now I'm trying to figure out how to turn this thing off.
You got it.